All right, let's call to order the June 23rd, 2025 meeting of the Historic Preservation Commission. I guess I will take roll. Let me get here.
Would you like me to do roll call for
Yeah, if you would do roll, Peter. Thank you.
1 second. Jean and I were having a conversation just before the meeting, so I apologize for not being ready.
That's okay.
We're on June
2-3.
2-3. All right. Kathy,
I'm here.
Patrick,
Here.
Jean,
Here.
Elder Jonathan,
Here.
Marianne,
Here.
Mark,
Here.
and Jane.
Here.
We're all here. Thank you, Peter. All right, item 2, approval of the minutes of the April 28th, 2025 Historic Preservation Commission meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second that.
Very close. Well, I can give it to Kathy.
Sure.
I'll second that.
All right. Yep. Motion by Patrick, seconded by Kathy to approve the minutes from the last meeting. Any corrections or changes? Does not appear so. All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item 3, public comment on matters not on the agenda. Please note that comments made during the public comment period shall pertain only to matters under the jurisdiction of the Historic Preservation Commission. Is there anyone who would like to speak on something not on the agenda? For the second time, anyone who would like to speak on something not on the agenda? Either in person or virtual? Third and final time, any public comments? Does not appear so we will move on. Item 4, annual election of chairperson and vice chairperson. So we do this once a year where the Historic Preservation Commission chooses a chair and a vice chair. Anything to add to that, Peter? No.
Nope.
So I'd be open to nominations.
I would nominate Jonathan as chair.
I second the nomination.
Okay, so we got a nomination for Jonathan as chair. Any other nominations?
I'll nominate Jean as vice chair.
Okay,
I'll second that.
all right. We have a motion to nominate Jean as vice chair. All right. Any other nominations? All right, well, if not, all those in favor, we'll start with chair. All those in favor of Jonathan Hanson as chairperson, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And all those in favor of Jean Hackbarth as vice chairperson, say aye.
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 Abstain.
And opposed? All right, motion carries. Thank you.
Okay.
And then
Thank
Jean.
you.
Yep. These guys. Yep. All right, item 5, consideration and possible action on the status of 3 projects that Historic Preservation Committee members are working on in 2025. Projects include historic property designations, CLG Subgrant facilitation, and public education program number 2. Peter?
I can speak on the CLG Subgrant that's been included in your meeting packet, and you were requested to try to review it before you got to this meeting. If you have any comments, you can share them with me, and I will make sure they get forwarded back to the consultant. The primary things you want to look for are obvious mistakes or errors that you see in it. You don't need to worry about fixing grammar. They have staff that will do that for us. You don't need to be looking for every single word being absolutely correct. What you want to do is, if you notice it's referring to a wrong street, or if there's a reference to a wrong geographic location or period in history that it's talking about, those are the things that we would want to tell the consultant. We have to remember the consultant is not local, so there's those local pieces of information that we might know a little bit more than they do, where we can help them out. And this is that opportunity to do that.
Yeah, Gene, I know you had a few corrections or suggestions. Yeah.
Editorial.
Editorial, yeah.
Yeah, those have been shared with me. I have.
Oh, they have, okay.
I have a couple dates that are in question. I could just give them to you, or
That would be great.
it's on page 25. It's got to do with the construction of the white pillars for the De Pere Hydraulic Company. It lists 1837 there. I believe we've found that it's 1838.
Yeah, we kind of came to that consensus, yeah.
And then the building was moved. It says 1861. I believe that was 1867.
Yep.
So that's the only comments I have.
I know Amanda just researched that recently, both of those items, yeah. And you, I know, yeah. Gene, did you want to highlight any of your feedback, or?
Yeah. In the nomination that we're reviewing tonight, there are two different locations where the Main Avenue is listed as Main Street. Okay.
Yep.
I pointed those two out to Peter. One is section 8, page 16, and the other is section 15 of page 56.
Thank you for catching that, Gene, yep.
Sure. Oh, and the one other thing, on page 60, it indicates, in my opinion, this from the nominator, the property meets the National Register criteria. I recommend that this property be considered significant at the following levels of significance. She had indicated local. What we are requesting is national and state.
Correct, yep. Good catch. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
That's it.
All right, thank you, Gene. Anybody else have any other feedback on this? Yeah, all in all, I think the consultant did a really nice job.
Excellent.
Excellent job, and appreciate the De Pere Historical Society's assistance as well in helping her efforts. It was really cool to see some historic photos of the bank that were included. So that was, and even a illustration of a design that was not ultimately used, but was originally one of the options. So. And then also I'd like to thank the owners, Gretchen and Scott Trowbridge, for their interest in getting their property listed on the National and State Historic Registers. They've been very supportive of this effort and has made it possible. So, all right. So that is the historic designation project, which will continue. Peter, do you want to maybe give a little bit of timeline on next steps for that project?
This project will be very close to its end by the time we have our next meeting in August, because this grant cycle concludes in September. So we most likely will not have anything to discuss about it in August unless something goes tragically wrong from here on out. Basically, we're going to take this to council for them to be aware of what the project is and that it's moving forward. It then will be shipped back to the consultant for formal submittal to the state and federal government for its nomination. That process will take 1 to 2 years typically. State review goes a little bit faster than the national review. That can take anywhere from a couple of months to a couple of years.
Okay, so other projects that people have been working on, we have, the WAPAC Award nomination, that was completed by Gene. He did a great job with, what was the address again? On Main Ave.
It's 415 and 417 Main Avenue.
Yep. Yep. So they won an award, and it was also included in the newsletter recently for
Yes.
WAPAC. So
It got great commendations, by the way.
awesome. And then education program, we have a subcommittee of Mark, Mary Ann, and Patrick. You want to give an update on that project?
Well, we had an individual contact us, or Amanda, 2 weeks ago in regard to the parks and how many of them are named after individuals. And there's not any plaques or anything that lists what these individuals did as far as significance to be honored. So this person wanted to know if there's any way that we could come up with hopefully some plaques. I know there's some plaques out there, but then explaining, example, the Jim Martin Park, explaining who Jim Martin is and what his significance was.
Right.
So I think that would be a great educational program.
I agree.
And that between the three of us, we'll come up with stuff.
Yeah, we-
Now that we have computers back and running at an alternate site, we can start doing research.
Okay. Yep. Yeah, I know the city's communication specialist, Andy Panslaff, also did a lot of research on that. I think he got a lot of the info from the Pere Historical Society, but it's all well organized in
Perfect.
a PDF, so I can share that with you guys.
That'd be great.
I think it's very timely as well because there's been a lot of discussion on the park board about renaming new park. Well, Wilson Park, and then also there's a new park in the southwestern part of the city that's for a new subdivision. And so there's been discussion about what to name that, if it should be named after a historic figure. And so that's kind of been on a lot of people's minds of, how we name our parks lately. So there was a suggestion. There was a young man, he enrolled in the Civil War when he was 15, Henry Cady. Died at the Battle of Vicksburg. I know one of the park board commissioners has been advocating for the park to be named after him because his farm was in the town of Lawrence, but it was nearby the park. But park board will make a final decision probably at their next meeting. So
Just an aside, we have all of the Henry Cady letters that are from the Civil War period,
oh wow,
originals. And they're all scanned into the computer over at the Historical Society.
great.
So
That's awesome.
if anybody's interested.
Information for the public.
Is the Katy Cemetery named after him?
Yeah.
His family.
Yeah, the family gave the land for the,
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh,
which is now the Lawrence Cemetery.
Right.
But
that's great.
All right. And then the other project is, so every year we try to identify 3 residential properties and 3 commercial properties to get added to the either the national, state, or local historic registers. So that subcommittee consists of myself, Jane, and Kathy. We've had kind of a standard template letter that we've sent out in the past. One of the things we talked about was in the 2001 and 2017 historic surveys, they identified a number of properties that are potentially eligible. So over the last 4 or 5 years, we've sent letters to all those properties, and some of them have got it 2 or 3 times, and we've not heard back from them. So instead of continuing to go to that well, we talked about maybe looking at other properties that have not been previously identified as potentially eligible, but that we think could be. If we reach out to those property owners, the first step then would be working with them to submit a preliminary evaluation to the Wisconsin Historical Society just to see if they're even potentially eligible. That's something we've talked about on the commission before, helping property owners submit that. So the properties that we have been looking at, let me just bring this up again. So in terms of residential properties, Jane Schuler here recommended 818 Jordan Road. I don't know if you want to comment on that at all, Jane?
Yeah, so I've lived near that property for a lot of years, and it's a beautiful old home. I didn't know any of the history around it except that Mayor Redman lived there
Okay.
for quite a few years, a lot of years. and there's a street named after him right
Yep, right
next to it. But then you did some other research on it, and
Yeah.
it's
Well-
been there since, what, 1856 or,
Let me see. 1880, but
1880?
yeah, still very old.
That's impressive.
I'm sure it was one of the first homes on Jordan Road,
80s.
which, used to be the southern limits of the city. So yeah, I mean, Wisconsin Historical Society does have like a profile for it, but it's not on a register right now, so.
The date of the construction was 1880.
80.
88. Okay.
And I do know the property owner as well, so that would kind of help as well, reaching out to her, so.
Okay.
And then the other two that we were looking at actually came from Alderperson Shayna Ledvina. So she represents District 1, which is northeast of here, so everything kind of north of George Street on the east side. She had two constituents who reached out to her, had interest in seeing if they could get on the register. The one was 710 Wabanakwa Trail, which is located on the corner of Ridgeway and Wabanakwa. The Charles and Jessica Bennett House, built in 1957. There is a profile of it on the Wisconsin Historical Society website. But again, like the Jordan Road one, this would be, first step would be getting a preliminary evaluation from the Wisconsin Historic Society. And then the other one is in kind of that wooded area by the St. Norbert Abbey, just outside of a couple of neighborhood historic districts right now. And that one is 922 White Pine Avenue. Alderperson Ledvina also noted when she contacted me here that it was the home of the Nelson family, who went on to be kind of very generous benefactors for the city. The Nelson Family Pavilion was funded with a very large donation from them. So those were the three that we kind of talked about as a subcommittee.
Jonathan, do we have a date of construction for 922 White Pine?
We do not. That one does not have like a profile on the Wisconsin Historical Society website.
Okay.
I do think the White Pine one would be maybe a little more questionable if it would be approved, but yeah, the email from Alderperson Ledvina said the Nelsons both passed away in 2017, left a significant endowment to the community foundation of the Fox Valley region, of which White Pillars and the Nelson Family Pavilion have recently benefited from. So, and there might, architecturally, it might qualify for that as well.
Has she been in contact with the current owners?
Yeah, she's actually knows the current owners very well, so,
Okay. That's,
and they're the ones who initially approached her about this.
okay. That sounds good.
And then for the three commercial properties, we were a little bit more kind of open about that. The last couple of times we've reached out to the National Bank of De Pere, which is 107 North Broadway, and then also the old post office. It'd be really nice to get both of those on. We have not heard back the last couple of times, so I don't know if we want to try again this year or take a break for a year. We also talked about, as a subcommittee, there are some properties on George Street, 609 and 611. That was a building that was built,
Oh, that's next.
I think, around 1900. And then I know Peter had somebody reach out to him about 614 George Street, which is now home of the new brunch spot.
Oh, Oakley's?
Oakley's, yes.
Yeah.
And that had an ownership change about a year or maybe 2 years ago now. And at least at the time, the owners had some interest. That one is also on the Wisconsin Historic Society page, built in 1893. So,
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, you can always ask that.
Peter, have you had any updates from the owner recently on that one, or
We're talking the George Street property?
614 George Street? Yeah.
Haven't spoken with them in well over a year.
Okay.
Jean, do you know if the old library on Main Street is on this?
It is.
It is already,
It
okay.
has been for quite some time already.
And we did reach out to them a few years ago about getting on the local historic register. Did not hear back, so we could try that one again for the local, but
What about the Pasquale's building?
that one is part of the Main Ave Historic District, so it is on the national and state register. But that's another one we could potentially reach out about local historic register. I know they are doing some renovations to it right now, so I don't know if that might complicate things because they would need to get approval for some of that if it's on the local register. But I know, the owner is, very historic preservation minded, so it's something we could potentially try reaching out to about.
I also wondered if, I'm not as familiar with the homes on the west side of the river. For any homes that would be eligible for looking into the state, national, local.
Yeah, that's a very good point. I know I've talked to Joe Nix, who's a resident over there, and he has said that we should have more focus on the west side. Unfortunately, when we've done the 2001 and 2017 survey, they didn't really look at any homes on the west side, but I think there are some who could be.
Yes, they,
Oh, they did? Okay.
don't confuse that. Both sides were looked at. That was not just an east side
The
project.
college,
But I mean, like, doing a real deep dive on whether they're potentially eligible, like there was about 20 that they did the deep dive on, I don't know.
One of the things we do have to remember is the homes on the east side are a little bit older than the west side, so that eligibility threshold wasn't quite met for as many areas of the west side as the east side. That's why it seems like we have an abundance on the east side more so than the west.
Yep.
Thanks.
Definitely something you can put on our radar. Yep. Any other suggestions for commercial properties? Peter, do you think we need a motion on sending out the letters at this meeting, or no? Okay. Well, we can keep talking with the subcommittee, kind of finalize the commercial property, so.
what about the old Root Piper's Tavern building where the restaurant is in there now? It used to- No,
Oh,
the breakfast place.
brick house.
Oh, Brick House, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that used to be a big dance club upstairs. I mean, generations ago, I think it was a dance hall.
Was a hotel.
Hotel,
reference.
yes, yeah. I just remember some of my aunts and uncles
It's,
talking about it.
Julie's.
Cafe's got one side,
Thank you,
side.
yeah.
and then the brick house on the other side.
Yeah.
So it's two different.
Right by the railroad.
Yeah, I think I actually, somebody did reach out to us a couple years ago and asking if that was on the register, so I think that would be a good one.
What about De Pere Auto, the next block east on George? Is that,
That could be too. Yeah, let me see.
Oh, that was already.
Which one?
Deep Auto.
Yeah, that one is not on the register currently, so that's 705 George Street.
Yeah.
'cause didn't that start out as, wasn't that the Bergstrom dealership many,
Yep.
many years ago? Yeah.
Yep. It was a car dealership, not sure,
Yeah.
but yeah, I think it was Bergstrom.
No, wasn't
Or was it Keen?
Keen.
Keen. It was
Well,
Keen.
Before Keen.
Was Bergstrom.
It
I
was.
thought Bergstrom was on Broadway, but it could have been.
And then
They seem to move all over the place.
I
Yeah.
think that owner is
The other
a friend
King
of
family,
Jay-
This is the list.
That Jalen, yeah.
What is all
a
this?
couple times
they
a
would,
year.
they would be very thrilled, I'm sure.
I think they would too, yeah. They've done a lot of good work
Their designation.
preserving the building.
Oh, okay.
They have, it really,
Where did you get
So yeah, I think we could do maybe 2 then on George Street and then the Brick House building.
that? I was.
That'd be good.
Where is that list?
And then Peter, timeline for this project, looking to get the letters out by the end of July, it appears.
Is whenever you want the letters to go is when.
Okay. But when would we need to know if they're interested to kind of apply for the CLG grant for next year?
I don't have the timeline schedule on me, I'm sorry.
Okay. That's all right. All right.
Notice of intents typically get mailed out at, Gene, is it October, November? And then the formal application in December.
Right.
But before that, there are things that we need to do, like
Intent.
find price quotes from consultants.
Yes.
So we can't wait until October to actually be submitting.
Okay. Yeah, and then the only other project was the CLG grant, which Gene has done a great job working on, and that's for the 127 North Broadway that we've been discussing. So
That's a great project. That's
It is,
coming
yeah.
through. Really is.
all right. So just looking quick at the timeline. So that CLG looks like through September, and then it's out of our hands, as Peter just mentioned earlier, once it gets to the state and the federal government. And then the Education Project 2, just through December. So can continue working on that, doing that research on the park. So, all right. So that's discussion only. So any other updates on projects? All right.
This is an action item.
Oh, it is an action item.
Yeah,
Okay.
I would like you to make some kind of a motion of either accepting or approving the nomination forms for 127 North
Yep.
Broadway.
Good catch. Somebody want to make that motion?
With those small edits.
Yeah, we're aware that small changes can happen, and the proposed changes you give to me are what will be forwarded to the consultant for those revisions.
I make the motion to approve.
I'll second that.
All right. Motion by Gene, seconded by Mark, to approve the nomination form for the State Bank of De Pere building, 127 North Broadway Street. And then the feedback will be passed along by staff to the consultant. All right. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. This will go on to City Council next in July.
In July.
Yep. And item 6, open to a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second?
Motion by Mark, seconded by Jane to adjourn the meeting. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. We are adjourned. Thank you.